Hello and welcome to United Bloodline. I'm Danny.
I'm Mike.
He's me dad.
This is my son.
And we're here to talk all things Manchester United. Now let's get into it, Dad. We've just recently watched the Ten Hag press conference ahead of the Brighton game tomorrow, 3 p.m. Old Trafford, Theatre of Dreams. How did you find it?
Well, I think he's quite honest, but he's also he's very protective of what he says. I can understand that because I do believe at the particular time there's obviously a disciplinary action taking place to Sancho at the moment, and I don't think it's been resolved. And there's obviously so I like to think over the next couple of weeks that Sancho realises that he's not bigger than the team
Or the club.
and that's correct. And I believe an apology will be needed. And hopefully then the next few weeks we'll get back on and see.
I don't think we're going to get an apology. I don't see that happening. I think Ten Hag was hidden in what he was saying. You know, there's a lot of questions coming his way, more so than anything else. You know, not even talking about the game. It was just Sancho. And every time a question come in, he was deflecting it somewhere else. And, you know, it's clearly not been resolved. Because if it had, I think he would have come out and said, listen, we've had a conversation, we've talked about this, and we're now here. And also, if you look at the recent club statement, where it talked about him training on his own and different actions taking place, I still think it's a bit of a black hole. I think it's not been resolved. And based on his post online, you know, Sancho, bit of a scapegoat he was saying and all this stuff, I don't see how he finds a way back in. Do you think he'll find a way back? Or
Well, I'd like to think so. I mean, obviously he's a young player, and players do say things, and I like to think that he realises. I mean, United is a bigger club than he'll be anyway, and I do believe that he'll probably realise that he's got to bow down. And an apology to me would be the way forward. But
my stance is, you know, if this was Bruno Fernandes, you know, who's arguably been one of our best players, if not our best, the past few years, and one of the best signings post Fergie, if it was him, you might be a bit more defensive for him. But Sancho, he's been there a few years now, come in, a lot of talk, and that he was going to be this and that, and it's not quite turned out the way that we've wanted. And I think that was one thing Ten Hag said, was when he come in last season, because our first game was Brighton, we got beat, and it didn't quite go the way that we wanted, but he was talking about the discipline and actually trying to bring a bit of a culture back to United. And I think that's apparent with you know, Sancho in this situation. You know, your Harry Maguires, your Ronaldos. As much as I love him and I think he was amazing for United, it had to be done. And I think you look back at Rashford last year at Wolves, I think it was, turned up late for training, I believe, something along those lines. Dropped him. He still come on, did the work and got the goal for us. But you know, he's there. He wants to, you know, take the action that's required to move United forward as a club. So I guess looking now into the game tomorrow, big game, Brighton, and I hate to say it, but on paper, based on form, based on how the games have taken place, the first 4 games, do they come in favourites a little bit?
Well, I don't think so. I think United with the home advantage. I mean, it's certainly going to be a close game. I don't think there's going to be a lot in it. I do tip United possibly to be won by about 2-1. That's my prediction for tomorrow. But I think Brighton are an exciting team. They're well set up. Got a great manager.
I think they funnily enough, they benefited from Graham Potter leaving. I don't think they would be as good as they are now if they were still under his leadership. So it's quite funny how it turns around.
There seems to be, from when you look at what's happening from the hierarchy right through to the team, it seems to be a well-run club, and it's how they can sort of release players and then bring players in.
Crazy.
It's just crazy. You know what I mean?
And it goes to show the difference on one side of the table with Brighton, and then you got United on the other hand with the whole sale. It's an absolute mess, but that's for another day. So the reason I say they come in as favourites is because they've won 3 out of the last 4, and they seem to be scoring goals for fun. I think they're averaging somewhere between 2 to 3 goals a game, and United are averaging somewhere between 2 to 3 goals conceded per game. So on paper, again, it should be a game that's going to have goals in it, that is going to be an entertaining game from a fan perspective. But I'm a little bit apprehensive. It could either go one way or the other. United come out, absolutely storm it. Ten Hag has done what he's needed to in the international break and got the players back in, give them a kick up the arse and got them where they need to be. Or it's a poor performance like Wolves at the start of the season and it kind of continues. But I thought we were unfortunate against Arsenal anyway.
I think we played exceptionally well against Arsenal.
Exceptionally well, probably.
And it's to me, Garnacho to me was onside, but but it
should be VAR.
VAR seems to let us down on this particular occasion. But we still have to be resilient. You have to take out the performance on the day. And I was impressed with United. So
I think a fair result in that game is a 1-1. The way it ended, they scored the latter end of the 80th minute towards the 90th minute thereabouts, and then that third goal was just United trying to get a goal anyway. So I wasn't too down about the third goal because you've got to try and get the second goal to make it a draw. I just think a draw would have been fair. We were unlucky, but that's football and that's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. So our starting 11, we've actually gone the same. It's quite interesting. Great minds think alike. You me dad, so maybe that's something to do with it. But let's just go through it for a second. So we've gone Onana in goal. We've gone Aaron Wan-Bissaka, right back. We've gone Victor Lindelof, right central defence. We've gone Lisandro Martinez on the left-hand side of central defence with Dalot on left back. Then just in front of the defence, we've gone Casemiro. And then we've gone Eriksen, Fernandes, possibly slightly further forwards. We've gone left-hand side. We've gone with Rashford, left attacking. We've gone Garnacho over on the right, and we've gone Höjlund up top. Who do you think is going to be the shining spark for the game tomorrow for United? Who's the one you're excited to see?
Well, I think it's got to be Höjlund.
Why though? Why?
Well, simply because in the short period he came on against Arsenal,
he was good.
Firstly, what impressed me, he was a great holder of the ball, and he reminds me of Mark Hughes from back in the 80s. Could hold the ball, very strong on the ball. So I'm expecting big things of this lad over the next few weeks.
Here's my concern though: we put too much pressure on his shoulders. Remember, Anthony Martial comes in first game for United. Who does he score against? Liverpool. Makes it 3-1. On paper, that's what you call the best possible debut. And ever since, it's kind of been a downward slope. So I'm a little bit apprehensive, but based on his debut against Arsenal, comes on for, 20 minutes, something like that.
That's correct, yeah.
And I think it was Gabriel who was marking him. Just seemed a bit of a nightmare for him. 6'3", I think he is.
Yeah.
He's a big lad.
He's a handful to his question, yeah.
As it might be even a case where he might go missing in certain games, but just from the point where he can give United a release, hold the ball up, besides the goal scoring, that's what I mean by going missing. He might not score every game, but he will always offer us an outlet, which we were missing with the likes of Martial. Rashford just doesn't play on top or up top. That's just not his place. He's always on the left. And then besides that, we've not really got anyone else. Now, you've also gone Garnacho over Pellestri, as have I. I mean, what's your thoughts behind it? I've got my own thoughts, but...
Well, Garnacho, to me, is a very exciting player. I mean, he's certainly great on the ball, very direct. And he's obviously got a few great goals for United, but it gets the crowd buzzing when you see... Because this young boy has certainly... got flashes of Ronaldo in it, I've been very impressed. Yeah, I've been very impressed.
Yeah, no, he's a cracker. He gets the ball and he just excites you.
That's correct.
Where not many players do that. Sometimes you'll watch a game, someone will get the ball and you just think, just fricking run with it. run with the ball and do something, but instead they start going sideways and backwards. With Garnacho, he's the opposite. He wants to get the ball and he wants to go with it. And, on paper, he was always a starter ahead of Pellestri. I think Pellestri is very exciting in his own right. And you know what? He might get the nod, but I think Ten Hag trusts Garnacho a little bit more. I think, to be fair, Ten Hag was going to have him this season as a permanent starter. But I think with the start of the season United had, he's pulled him back out the limelight a little bit. Because he was one of the first names on that team sheet for Wolves. And, it's not, like I say, it's not been a great start to the season. So I think he's pulled him out a little bit. But now we're looking a little bit bare up there. Really, we've got Rashford, Antony's out for other reasons. Sancho's out. So we've not got a massive choice, have we?
No, but I think Rashford is probably, to me, he's at his best. I mean, obviously watched him in the England game and very excited. The pace, very direct, and also I obviously like to shoot as he comes in. But I noticed he laid a few nice balls across as well. So he put a variety into his game, which is nice to see. Yeah,
it'd be nice to see how he does against Brighton. I'm just, bit unsure how the game could go, because with United, it's you don't know if they're going to turn up or if they're not. They're somewhere, and you never get somewhere in the middle. It's always great or pretty poor. I think in most cases.
I think because it's a home game, I think United fans will get behind them. And,
of course.
They should do, because when you put that shirt on at Old Trafford, then you should play with passion. And I do believe Ten Hag will pick his best team, and we've just highlighted a few areas in that team which we believe could make a massive difference to them.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what do you think the score is going to be?
Well, I do believe it's going to be a very close game. I just edge United by 1 goal, and I think it's going to be about 2-1. It's going to be a scoring game. Again, got to, obviously, from what you mentioned early on, got to watch the Brighton. I've been averaging about 3 goals.
So something like 3 goals a game. Yeah.
So I think defence is going to be very important, certainly in the first half, and obviously defend well, and then obviously on the break we've certainly got the pace.
Yeah. Well, you think with Höjlund, Rashford, and possibly Garnacho or Pellestri, they're all very fast players in their own right. So we've got it there. And I think we can cause some issues. I'm personally going to go a 3-1, even though I'm apprehensive, because it's United and you don't know how they're gonna come out after this international break. But I'm confident we can do the business. But I'm going 3-1, and for the purpose that I think Brighton are going to score. I think we both agree with that. But I think United are going to turn up. I think Ten Hag's going to give them a kick, and you know what? The international break can offer relief sometimes, a bit of an escape, come back in with fresh minds, ready to go at it again. So that's my score prediction, and we've got a bit of a chocker week ahead into next week now as well. United, we've got this game against Brighton, not to look too far ahead, but he's going to have to look at starting to use some of the fringe players, Ten Hag, now as we go, because now you start to see a bit of a pile up with games. It's every 3-4 days. We've got Brighton tomorrow. Then we hit Bayern. It's going to be.
Well, it's going to be a tough game, that one. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's not going to be easy. And then we hit Crystal Palace twice over. Once in the Premier League, once in the Carabao Cup. I think in the Carabao Cup, that's where you're going to start seeing, Reguilon, who we brought in from Tottenham, and also Pellestri, and some of the other players, some of the fringe players. They're on the fringes of the team. Because he can't keep putting, the team out that he is at the moment purely for.
Well, it also depends on injuries as well. I mean,
of course, yeah.
I mean, some of the injured players. I like to think that some of those, your Shaws and will be hopefully back in the team.
Well, you think if you've got Malacia, Shaw, they're left back concrete. They're in there. Yeah. So I don't think Reguilon actually gets any games. So I know a few United fans were like, it's not a very good signing, but I don't personally think it's that bad of a signing, because I don't see him getting many games. He's there as an option should we require it. So on paper, I don't think it's that bad. And we haven't even talked about Sophie and Amrabat, the saga of the summer. He wanted to come to United, and they just messed around. They couldn't clear any players off the books. It was a bit of a disaster from that perspective. Do you think he's going to get some game time tomorrow?
Again, it's all down to
fitness,
fitness and what's happening in training.
Yeah, which we don't see on the inside.
Maybe it could be well on the bench. I think if he's on the bench, then
he'll get some game time.
He will do.
He'll come on for a few minutes. So we'll have to wait and see with that one. See if he gets any game time. Fingers crossed. I think myself, you, and many of the United fans want to see him get some game time, see what he can do for us, and hopefully solidify that midfield up a little bit and see where he can take us, because he was great in the World Cup. I remember seeing him.
The World Cup, he was amazing. And I think he I liked about him. He wants to come. He's always wanted to come to United as well. So I mean, that to me tells me a lot about the player himself. So we'll all be excited to see him when he does make his debut for United.
Yeah, you want players who want to put the shirt on and not there for the paycheck, which is like some of the players there, without mentioning any names. But fortunately, there's some of them that I don't feel are committed to the club. But anyhow, we've got Brighton tomorrow. I'm excited, confident, apprehensive, but we'll see. What are your final thoughts then, Dad?
Yeah, as I said, without going over myself too much, I think United tomorrow.
We're going to do it.
I'm just going to edge it slightly. I think it's going to be an exciting game. I always love to watch United when they play at home, with the crowd behind them as well. I think we're just going to edge it, and that's it doesn't matter what the score is, as long as you get those 3 points.
Yeah, as long as you get the result, that's the main thing. So that's it for us then, Dad, until we see the game tomorrow, and fingers crossed we'll get the win. So that's been us from United Bloodline. I've been Danny,
and I'm Mike,
and he's me Dad,
and this is me son,
and we'll see you again on another video.